Imagine living for 2 whole years without a heart. This isn't a metaphor, it's not poetry. We're talking literally no heart inside the chest, no organ beating at the center of the body, and yet alive. Walking, eating, talking, breathing. It's like life was being carried by wires and machines, like a character straight out of science fiction. But this story isn't from a movie. It really happened to a young woman named Stan Larkin, or better said, the female version of this incredible story, Rebecca Henderson. She lived through one of the most unbelievable medical cases in modern history. For 2 years, her body worked without a human heart, just a portable machine instead. Sounds impossible. Wait until you hear how it all happened, and what she had to face every day to stay alive. Rebecca Henderson was a young woman just like any other. She had plans, friends, a job, and a normal routine. No clear signs anything serious was about to happen. Then, at 35, she began feeling strange, extreme tiredness, frequent dizziness, and a constant sensation that her heart was failing. Within days, what seemed like stress turned into a medical emergency. The diagnosis was devastating: cardiomyopathy, a condition where the heart muscle deteriorates to the point it can no longer pump blood efficiently. It was as if the engine of her body simply broke down. Doctors tried medication, intensive monitoring, hospital stays, but nothing worked. Rebecca's heart was dying. She got on the transplant list. But then came a second shock: no hearts were available. And if nothing was done fast, she had just days to live. That's when doctors suggested an extreme option. Something that sounded like science fiction. Remove her heart completely and replace it with a machine. Sounds crazy, right? But it was the only way out. Not an easy or comfortable option. A last hope. And so Rebecca stepped beyond the limits of the human body and modern medicine. The day of surgery felt like a surreal nightmare. Rebecca woke up knowing that by the end of the procedure, she literally would no longer have a heart inside her body. Not an artificial heart implanted inside, as many think. It was more radical than that. Doctors would remove her heart entirely and replace it with a device called the total artificial heart, a kind of external mechanical pump, connected by tubes to her body, that would take over the job of pumping blood, but from outside her chest. The surgery lasted hours. It was risky, rare, and absolutely invasive. When it ended, doctors breathed a sigh of relief. It was working. The machine, called the Freedom Driver, was like a backpack Rebecca had to carry everywhere. It weighed about 6 kilograms, made a constant noise, and had to stay on all the time. Without it, Rebecca would die within minutes. Imagine waking up after surgery and realizing that your heart, the thing that represents life, feelings, the body's rhythm, is simply no longer there. Instead of the sound of beating, there was a mechanical hum. Instead of a vital organ, there were wires, tubes, and a backpack. Rebecca was now a survivor from another world. Part human, part machine. A woman literally depending on technology to live every single second. From the moment she left the hospital, Rebecca had to relearn how to live. Everything was different. She now carried a machine that beat in place of her heart. And this machine couldn't fail ever. The backpack with the Freedom Driver became her constant companion. She slept with it, showered with it, went to the market with it. Every step she took, every movement of her body, came with the mechanical sound of pumps compressing and releasing air, creating the artificial pulse that kept her body working. Many people looked at her like she was from another planet. Some approached with curiosity, others with fear, and some simply didn't know how to react. Rebecca said that, at first, she felt more like a machine than a person. She had to plan every outing. The battery needed charging. Tubes connected, the system perfectly working. A simple failure could be fatal. And the craziest part? She couldn't feel her own heartbeat anymore. There was no comforting thump-thump in her chest, just silence, and the robotic sound of the device. Sometimes she'd put her hand on her chest out of habit, and remember there was no heart there anymore. That played with her mind. She didn't know if she could trust her own body. But even with all that, Rebecca didn't give up on living. She insisted on going out, moving around, showing she was still herself. That inside, there were still dreams, desires, personality, because the heart she lost was just an organ. What made her human kept beating strong, even if connected to wires. Staying alive with a machine was already an immense physical challenge. But the emotional side, almost no one saw that. Rebecca fought a silent war inside her mind. Imagine waking up every day feeling like your body isn't fully yours, depending on an external device, loud, heavy, fragile, that needs to work 24/7 for you to keep existing. She said many times she felt disconnected from her own humanity. It wasn't just the organ that was removed. It was like they took her confidence, her naturalness, her spontaneity too. She felt ashamed to go out in public, afraid to touch anything and damage the device, worried about scaring people. The machine wasn't discreet. It was visible, audible, present all the time. Also, there was the constant uncertainty. How much longer could she live like this? What if the transplant never came? What if the machine failed? She lived sleepless nights, anxiety attacks, moments when she just wanted to give up. But something inside her, maybe stronger than any heartbeat, kept her going. A survival instinct, a challenge telling the world, I am still here. Rebecca also worried about the impact on those around her. Friends, family, people who saw her changing day by day. She felt guilty for causing worry, but at the same time, deeply grateful to have people by her side. It was like living between two worlds, extreme fragility and superhuman strength. Every day started the same way for Rebecca. Checking equipment, testing cables, checking the battery of the backpack that kept her alive. But no matter how much she adapted, she knew this was just a bridge, a waiting. That could end at any moment. For better or worse, the ultimate goal was one, to get a real heart. She was on the transplant list, but being on the list didn't mean a guarantee. It was like being in an invisible queue where time was racing against you. Meanwhile, every day was a fight against exhaustion, limitations, and the constant fear of a technical failure. And don't think life stopped. She still had to eat, pay bills, keep her house in order. Only now, all that was done carrying life on her back, literally. Dates piled up. 1 month became 3, then 6, a year, another. 2 full years went by and nothing. Rebecca watched others get hearts. Some died before their turn. And she remained there, suspended between life and uncertainty. Every time the phone rang, her heart, the one she didn't have, almost skipped a beat. Is it now? But most times, it was a false alarm. And still, she didn't let despair take over. She learned to live in the moment, to laugh when she could, to avoid long-term plans, but also not to stop dreaming. Because as much as the backpack on her back was a symbol of her condition, she still carried something else, a silent, stubborn, persistent hope. After 765 days living without a heart, the phone finally rang, and this time it was real. On the other end, a voice she'd never forget said the words that seemed impossible. We found a matching heart. Rebecca was shocked. For a moment, she didn't know whether to cry, laugh, thank, or just hang up and run to the hospital. This was the chance she had fought for every single day. But it wasn't a simple victory. It was the start of another battle. Heart transplants are extremely delicate. There are risks of rejection, infections, adaptation failure. And more than that, there was the emotional weight. Someone had died so she could keep living. This reality hit Rebecca hard. Along with relief, she felt grief for a person she never met. The surgery was rushed. Doctors, nurses, equipment. Everything had to work like a symphony. The new heart had come from far away, and time was essential. When she entered the OR, there were no guarantees. But there was faith. And most of all, a will to live. The operation lasted hours. Every second was a dance between life and risk. When Rebecca finally woke up, she felt something different. Something she hadn't felt in 2 years. A real heartbeat inside her chest. Weak at first, like a drum learning to play again. But real, human, hers. Having a new heart didn't mean everything would go back to normal immediately. On the contrary, Rebecca found out that getting the transplant was only the beginning of a new journey. In the first days, she felt her body confused. As if trying to understand this stranger, now beating inside her chest. The heart was human, yes, but not hers. It was a new organ that needed to adapt to her body, and her to it. Simple movements demanded effort. Deep breaths, climbing stairs, getting out of bed, all challenges. She had to do intensive physical therapy, take dozens of medications daily to prevent rejection and infections, and deal with heavy side effects. Her immune system was purposely weakened, so the body wouldn't attack the new heart as if it was an invader. But maybe the strangest thing was to feel her own heart beating again. Something most of us don't even notice. But for Rebecca was almost supernatural now. Sometimes she would stop and place her hand on her chest, just to make sure it was real. Not the machine making noise, a real heart, beating alive. With the new heart beating strong in her chest, Rebecca decided she didn't just want to go back to normal life. She wanted to give meaning to what she'd been through. For 2 years, she carried on her back a machine that kept her alive. And now, she wanted to carry a mission in her chest to inspire others, to show that even in the most extreme moments, life can surprise us. She started giving interviews, attending transplant events, and became a kind of spokesperson for modern medicine. But more than talking about technology or health, she spoke about hope. About how it's possible to keep going even when everything seems lost. About how every second of life, even with limits, can be precious. Rebecca never romanticized what she went through. She was always honest about the hardships, the trauma, the constant fear. But she was also grateful. Grateful for having access to technology that saved her life. Grateful to the family who, amid pain, decided to donate the heart of a loved one. Grateful to the medical team who believed she could endure. Grateful to wake up every morning and feel her chest pulse. Rebecca's story isn't just about medicine. It's about resilience, reinvention, and hope. She lived 2 years without a heart, but never without a soul. If this story impressed you, imagine how many other lives are out there beating the impossible every day. If you enjoy incredible, inspiring human stories, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment telling us what moved you most about this journey, and share this video with someone who needs to remember that life is worth living. See you next time for another amazing curiosity.